Welcome to a series of lessons looking at trigonometry. I'm your presenter today, Aaron Lewis. In the following series of lessons, we'll be looking at right angle triangle trigonometry, using the sine rule, using the cosine rule, calculating the area of triangles, and the graphs of trigonometric functions. In this lesson today, we are looking at right angled triangle trigonometry. In this lesson, you're going to learn how to calculate the side length and an angle of a right angled triangle. This will include using your calculator. This lesson is suitable for students who will be taking A-level maths. The language of the lesson is English, and this should take around 30 minutes. The learning aims of this lesson are to be able to calculate a side length of a right angled triangle using trigonometry, to be able to calculate an angle of a right angled triangle using trigonometry. The first thing we need to do is to label each side on a right angled triangle. The first thing we're going to do is label the longest side on each triangle. Now, it is a fact that the longest side is always opposite the right angle. So in this case here, it will be this side. And the label that gets is called the hypotenuse. And the next example, the right angle points to this side here. And again, we'll label that the hypotenuse. In the third example, the right angle points to this side here, which again we label the hypotenuse. And the final example, you can see that the right angle points to this side here, the hypotenuse. The next side we're going to label is called the opposite. In this case, we are working with this angle here, and the side opposite this angle that we're working with is called the opposite. Look at the next example. Here's the angle we are working with. So that side is the opposite. And the third example, this is the angle we are working with, and therefore that is the opposite. Same with the fourth example, and that side there will be the opposite. Now the final side we need to label is called the adjacent. Adjacent meaning next to, so it's next to the angle we are working with. So therefore that final side there is called the adjacent. And on the next example, there's the adjacent. On the third example, there's the adjacent. And the last example, there is the adjacent. Okay, so with these worked example problem pairs, I will do the questions on the left, and the questions on the right are for you to have a go at. So this question says, label the hypotenuse, opposite, and adjacent of each triangle. Okay, so here we go. The right angle is here, and that points to the hypotenuse, which for ease, I'm going to call H. With the example underneath, I'm doing the same thing. The right angle points to the longest side, which I'm going to call H, or the hypotenuse. The next side I'm going to label is opposite the angle we are working with, So that side there is the opposite. With the bottom example, this is the angle we are working with, so the 10 centimeter side is the opposite. And the final side we need to label is the adjacent. And there are all the sides labelled for each triangle. There is your question. Pause the video and try it now. Okay, so hopefully you've had a go at that question, and your labelling should be something like this. Well done if you got it correct. The next part of this video is to be choosing the correct ratio, which is either sine, cosine, or tangent. Now we'll be using something called SOHCAHTOA to help me, and SOHCAHTOA is just an acronym for how to solve right angle triangle trigonometry. So here are my 4 questions. And the first step is to label the sides on each one. So this side here is H because it's opposite the right angle. O is this side here because it's opposite the angle we are working with. And this side here is A, the adjacent. Going underneath, H is there, opposite the right angle. The opposite is here, and the adjacent is here. The next example, there is H, there is O, and there is A. And the final question, H is there, the 8 centimeter side. O is there, and A is there. So all we have done is labelled each triangle. The next thing we need to do is choose the correct ratio. So in the first problem, we are calculating the opposite, and we know the adjacent. So I'm looking at these acronyms here, and which one has the opposite and adjacent, or just O and A. And it's that one there, it's TOA. And what that basically means is that tan 25 is equal to O divided by A. We're not going to be solving this, we're just going to be choosing the correct ratio. The question underneath, we are trying to calculate A. We know the size of O, and we're also given an angle. So again, I'm looking for one with O and A in, and it's the same triangle as above, just written slightly differently. So it's another TOA. Therefore, tan 15 will be equal to 10 divided by y. And the next example, we're trying to calculate x, so this time it's an angle. We know the value of A, and we know the value of h. So looking at the triangles at the top, the acronyms at the top, we'll be using CAH because we know the adjacent and we know the hypotenuse. So the way I'd write this will be cos x, cos of the angle, and it's A divided by h. And there we go. Final example. We're trying to calculate y. We know the value of h. We know the value of o. So I'm looking for an acronym at the top with O and H, which is SOH. Filling in the relevant parts, sine y would be equal to O divided by H, which is 3 divided by 8, like that. So when we are solving right angle triangle trigonometry, the first step is to label the sides, then the next step is to choose the correct ratio. So in these series of examples, as before, I'll be doing the question on the left and you will do the question on the right. Here are the two examples. First thing is I'm going to label the sides. The 10 centimeter is H. The opposite is opposite the angle we are working with. And the adjacent in this case is the one which is left. The question underneath, the 10 centimeter side is H. O is opposite the angle we are working with, and the adjacent is the one next to the angle. So which ratio am I going to choose? There is SOHCAHTOA at the top. So in this first question, I'd like to calculate the opposite. I know the value of H, and I've got an angle as well. So I'm looking for where O and H are together. And there it is. So it would be sine 14 would be equal to O divided by 10. The question underneath, I'd like to find out the angle. We know the value of H and we know the value of A. So I'm looking for an acronym where A and H are together. And there it is. So it would be cos X equals A divided by H. And there we go. There is your question. Pause the video and have a go now. Here are the answers. The 5 centimeter side is H. There's O. There's A. And underneath, H, O, A. In the first example at the top, it will be cos. Cos 44 will be X over 5. And the bottom example, A and O, which is a TOA. Therefore, tan 70 is O divided by A. have a go at mini quiz 1 and come back to the video when you're ready. This time we're going to actually solve the questions. We're going to find the length of an unknown side in a right angle triangle. There is our question. First thing I'm going to do is label the sides. H, O, A. We know the value of A, or would like to find the value of A. We know the value of H, and we know the angle. So I'm looking for an acronym with A and H in, which is going to be cos. So setting this up, cos 14 will be equal to A, which is x, divided by h. Next thing I'm going to do is rearrange, multiply both sides by 10, and my final step is to then type that in my calculator. Therefore x is 9.7 centimeters. Here is your question. Pause the video and have a go now. Okay, labeling. H, O, A. So this is a sine, and here's the solution. Here is another example. My first step is to label the sides. H, O, A. We need to calculate H. We know the value of O, and we know the angle. Looking at SOHCAHTOA, we need a ratio, an acronym, with O and H in. So this one is going to be sine. And there we go. This one looks more difficult to solve. The first step is to multiply through by x. The next step is to divide through by sine 30. And the final step is to type that exactly in your calculator. Therefore x is 18 centimeters. There is your example. Pause the video and have a go now. Here is the solution. This time it was a tan, and as before we need to divide through by tan 70. Have a go at mini quiz 2 and come back to the video when you're ready. In the next set of examples, we'll be going to find an unknown angle of a right angle triangle. Here is the first example. Labelling as before, the right angle points to H. O is opposite the side of the angle we are working with. We'd like to calculate x. We know the value of A, and we know the value of O. So we're looking for a ratio with O and A in, which in this case is tan. So my first step is to write tan x equals 15 divided by 12. To reverse tan, or the inverse of tan, is what you might call tan to the minus 1, or inverse tan. So in my calculator, I'm typing x equals inverse tan 15 divided by 12. Therefore x is 51.34 degrees. Here is your example. Pause the video and have a go now. Here is the solution. This side is H, this side is O, this side is A, so therefore we will be using cos. So cos y equals 9 divided by 10. We would like to get y equals, so we inverse cos both sides. Therefore y equals inverse cos, or cos to the minus 1, 9 divided by 10, which will equal 25.84 degrees. Here's my next example. First thing I'm going to do is label the sides. And there we go. And we need to find the value of A. We know H. We know A. And we'd like to find this missing angle here. Writing up SOHCAHTOA again. We've got A and H. Therefore, we're using cosine or cos. Cos A will be equal to A divided by H. Here is the working. So we would like to get A equals, so we inverse cos both sides, and then this side here will be getting typed into the calculator. Therefore x is 51.34 degrees. Small correction there. X is 75.52 degrees. Here is your question. Pause the video and have a go now. Looking at the answer, there is H, there is O, there is A, we know A, we know O, and we would like to calculate this angle. Therefore, tan B will be equal to 1 divided by 1. Therefore, B equals inverse tan 1 divided by 1. Therefore, B is 45 degrees. Have a go at mini quiz 3 and come back to the video when you're done. That concludes our lesson and reviewing the learning aims. The first aim was to be able to calculate the side length of a right angled triangle using trigonometry. The second aim was to calculate an angle of a right angled triangle using trigonometry. That is the end of the lesson, and thank you very much for watching.